ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम Mandalam 10 Suktam 88 Rishi Murdhanvan Angirasa Vamadevya Va Devata Surya Vaishwanaragni Chandastrushtu. Havishpantamajaram Swarpidi 10.88.1. This oblation, which is drinkable or enjoyable, is undecaying, is pleasure-giving, is being offered in Agni, who is knower of the sun and is touching the space. Enlightened souls or shining beings extends this happiness giver with their own power for nourishing of living creatures and for good works of this oblation. Comment: this suktam is an oblation offered to Agni. May this hymn be utilized for the good of mankind for performing religious rites. This oblation could also be indicative of flowing essence of Atma, as can be seen from the next few works. Kirnam Bhuvanam Tamasavagulham Avi 88.2. In the birth of this shining Agni, all this universe, which is well praised and was covered by darkness, came into being. In the friendship of that very Agni Atma, shining beings, earth, the space, the flowing water streams and plants delight themselves. The whole universe became alive and active only after the birth of shining Agni. The universe and the dwellers of the universe delight in the spiritual Agni's friendship. Devobhir Vishito Yetniyebhiragnim 88.3. Urged on by sacrifice-worthy enlightened souls or shining beings, I praise that undecaying great soul of Agni, who by his radiance penetrated the earth and the space and illuminated the space, earth and the atmosphere. Implied meaning: Agni Atma illumines or pervades the space and earth and all objects contained within them. This suktam is in praise of that Agni. 10.88.4. Yo hotasi prathamo devajushtoyam. Soul of Agni is a grave word to enlightened souls or shining beings. He becomes the first acceptor of oblations. Sacrificers anoint him with ghee. That knower of all born beings, soul of Agni alone, makes active the flying birds, walking creatures, those inert objects which are stationary and moving, and living forms, both stationary and moving. First part refers to sacrificial fire. Agni supplies energy to all objects in the universe, living and non-living, as well as moving and static. Yajyadavedo bhuvanasya murdhan 88.5. O knower of all born beings, soul of Agni, we acknowledge you who is established on the top of the universe, together with your radiance, with our minds, with our praises and with our eulogies. You are the filler of the space and earth with energy and become fit for sacrifice. Murdha bhuvo bhavati naktamagni 10.88.6. Spiritual Agni becomes the head of the universe at night. Then in the morning, at the rising up of the dawn, he becomes the sun. These are but the illusion of sacrifice-worthy shining beings, knowing which Atmiya Agni moves in the sky. Comment on this Rak. Agni, the fire, is the primary source of energy at night. During the day, Agni appears as the sun. Though Agni appears in different forms, all of them represent energy only. Dirishenyu no Mahina Samidho 88.7. All shining beings or enlightened souls offer oblations in the Agni, who is the protector of their bodies, is visible to all with his greatness, is well kindled, is having the space as his womb, and is shining brightly with his luster by reciting praiseful Vedic mantras. Suktavagam Prathamam 88.8. Enlightened souls generate the Vedic mantras first and then only spiritual Agni. After that only they generate the offering to him. Then Agni becomes fit for sacrifice. He only becomes the protector of bodies. The space knows him. The earth and flowing waters or water particles also know him. Comment. Shining beings or enlightened souls are having inert bodies. They are activated by Agni. Agni protects the inert bodies of living creatures by supplying energy to them. So the wise sages praised Agni by Vedic hymns. Yam Devaso Janayantam Im 88.9. Soul of Agni, whom enlightened souls generated and in whom all living creatures are offered, moving along straight paths with his radiance, heats up the space, earth, and all these objects with his greatness. Implied meaning: Agni, as the soul of energy, is conceived of by the wise sages. Every object in the universe gets energy from Agni only. This is the gist of the Rak. Stomena Hidvi Devaso Agnim 88.10. Enlightened souls with their powers generated with praiseful hymns Agni in the shining space, who is a filler of the space and earth. Then they made that giver of happiness to stay in the threefold worlds. He cooks or supplies energy to all forms of plants and living creatures. Wise sages identified Agni with the sun in the space, with lightning or electricity in the atmosphere, and fire on the earth. This is a threefold Agni talked about here. Alternately, spiritual Agni was generated in or by the minds of enlightened souls, activating gross, subtle and causal bodies. Yadelenam adadhur yatniyaso yadelenam adadhur yatniyaso divi. When sacrifice-worthy enlightened souls uphold the sons of Aditi, the sun and Agni, when these two movers came to be coupled, only then all living creatures see these two. Essence of this Ruk can be explained as follows. Men came to see the sameness or oneness of Agni and the sun when enlightened souls identified the sun as one of the sources of energy only. Vishwasma Agnim Bhuvanaya Deva 88.12. Enlightened souls made this universal Agni the banner of the day. He overspreads the dawns, shining them splendidly. Encountering darkness, he drives it away with his radiance. Implied meaning, in the physical sense, Agni can be taken as the sun here. Universal Agni or personifications or forms of energy can be considered as spiritual energy. Then darkness and dawn are to be taken in the spiritual sense correspondingly. Vaishwanaram Kavayo Yatnyaso Agnim 88.13. Wise sacrifice for the enlightened soul generated this undecaying universal Agni, Vaishwanara. He observes the ancient moving star who is the eyewitness of the Supreme Spirit, Paramatma, who is brilliant and who is great. Spiritual Agni, personification of all energy forms, is being referred to in this group. He acts as the eye of Atma, the Supreme Spirit. This comment is applicable to the next trick also. Vaishwanaram Vishwaha Didivamsam 88.14. We praise well with Vedic mantras this universal Agni, Vaishwanara, who is shining brightly and is like a wise sage at all times. Also, he excels the earth by his greatness. That resplendent one heats earth from below as well as from above, which implies Agni is there inside the earth, which is being heated on all sides by sun's rays. Above and below can only be with respect to an observer on the earth, Ve Shruti Ashranavam Vidrunamaham 88.5. I have heard about two paths of the forefathers, namely of enlightened souls and of mortals. This universe which is there approaches the father and mother or the forefathers, moving along together by these two paths. The two paths can be spiritual and worldly. The moving or movement is only relative. Forefathers approached the universe either along worldly path or the spiritual path. Mortals follow the worldly path. Enlightened souls move along the spiritual path and attain immortality. Worldly path leads one from unity to diversity, while the spiritual path is from diversity to unity. Dve samiji bibhradas charantam 88.16. The two space and earth together hold this universal Agni born from the heads or minds of enlightened souls and reflected upon by their minds. That most attentive Agni who takes men across miseries and is shining brightly is established in front of all living creatures. Wise sages conceived of spiritual Agni and meditated on it for obtaining or attaining immortality. He leads men to the origin of the universe, which is birthlessness. Yatra vadete avara parascha 88.17. Where there is a talk between Agni on the lower earth and Agni in the shining space, who moves? Who is more sacrifice worthy among us? There, Agni's friends became strong enough to perform sacrifice. Among the accomplishers of sacrifice, who can answer this question? Implication of this or comment on this is gross energy Agni is the inferior one and the superior Agni is the spiritual one. Who can say which one is superior? This is being answered to in the last stroke. Katyagnaya Kadi Suryasa 88.18. O forefathers, how many Agnis are there? How many suns? How many dawns? How many water streams to be counted? I am not saying this to you emulatively. O wise sages, I am asking you for knowing happiness. What is happiness? Last stroke of the sutta. Yavan matra musho na pratigam. O soul of Agni, you grow in the fire stick. So long as the beautiful winged night clothes or covers the face of Usha, till then the seekers of Brahman, approaching the sacrifice and sitting by the side of inferior Agni, sacrificial fire, offer their oblations to that sacrificial fire. Sacrificial fire, which is the grass one, comes in handy for a performer of sacrifice with oblations of food matter. Spiritual Agni is acceptor of subtle offerings. He only guides a meditative man to self-knowledge. Ushas, spiritual means dawning of spiritual knowledge. We go to the next sutta, which is sutta 89 by Rishi Renu Vaishwamitra Devada Indra Chandastrushtu Indram Stava Nurdamam Yasya Mahna 89.1. O praiser, you praise that best leader of men, Indra, whose greatness oppresses others' radiance and pervades the ends of the earth, who is the upholder of man by his greatness, who excels even the greatness of the oceans, and who fills the universe with his best qualities. The Sruk indicates that Suklam is dedicated to Indra, who could be universal Jivatma or manifested self. We go to the next Sruk, 89.2. Says Budya Paryuru Varamasendro Varamasendro Sasurya Paryuru Varamasendro 89.2. That Indra, manifesting as the sun, gets possessed of many splendors, like a charioteer by his wheels. Not staying, which means moving all the time, like an active horse, he destroys darkness of the night with his brilliance. Indra, the manifested self, causes the appearance of the sun in the space. The sun stands for one form of energy here. 89.3. Samanamasma Anapa Vrudarcha. O praiser, you sing new Vedic praises to Indra, which are similar and free from objectionable statements and are unparalleled even by earth and the space. Indra knows all born beings like the page of a book. He discerns the enemies and questions them. He does not wish to question a friend. Which implies Indra pervades all material objects in the universe. In addition, in living forms, he is present as Jivatma, as mentioned in this Sruk. Indraya Giro Anishitas Sarga Apa 89.4 Incessantly flowing Vedic words are meant for Indra, who sets in motion water from the lowest part of the atmosphere. Indra with his skill firmly fixes the earth and the space on all sides like wheels of a chariot to its axle. Comment on this look. The other four basic forms of matter are earth, space, atmosphere and flowing waters. They also appear because of Indra. Abandamanyus Tripala 89.5 Atmiyasoma is exhaler of fury, is present as a creeper, is a shaker, is mighty or effective, is armed with missiles and is expeller of enemies. All these forests or clouds, ignorance clouds, are generated with his soul. These counterparts do not deceive in front of Indra, or no comparison to Indra. Implied meaning of this ruk: Soma, flowing essence of Atma, which is extracted or born, is said to be the soul of all living beings. Moreover, all these manifested objects stand no comparison to Indra. She is superior to all of them. Nayasya Deva Prithvi Thanva 89.6 Atniyasoma flows to Indra, to whom the space and earth are the flowing streams, or the atmosphere and the ignorance clouds are not comparable. When Indra's anger rises up above the ordinary level, hard things are broken down, and those which are standing firmly are dashed to pieces. Comment: Spiritual Soma directly flows to and for Indra. Indra is responsible for the appearance of the universe. This is being spelt out here. He is terribly mighty. Jaghana Vrutram Swadhitir 89.7 Indra slays the enemy cloud. He dashes to pieces the fortresses of enemies like an axe cutting down trees, or thunderbolt ignorance clouds. He leads flowing waters into channels. He breaks down the cloud like a new earthen pot. Indra, together with self-yoked Mairus, makes water streams to flow down to earth. Tvam ha tyadrunya Tvam ha tyadrunaya Indra Thiro 10.89.8 O Indra, you are indeed intelligent and demander or fulfiller of obligations. You destroy the wicked like a sword cutting down men's limbs. You judge those men who are friendly and appropriate to the home of Mitra and Varuna. Some of the activities attributed to Indra are listed here. 89.9 Praye Mitram Praryamanam Dureva 89.9 O shower of happiness, Indra, you sharpen your weapon, which may be thunderbolt, which is strong, is shower of rain and is reddish in color or very bright, is unfriendly to malignant men who transgress Mitra and Adyama or violate praiseworthy Maruts or frustrate Varuna. May Indra destroy all unfriendly characters or internal enemies of his devotees with his weapon thunderbolt, which could be physical or spiritual. Indrodiva Indra Ishe Prithivya 89.10. Indra is the lord of the space, the earth, the waters, and Indra only is of ignorance clouds. Indra is the master of virtuous men, and Indra only of wise men. He is fit for oblations in prosperity and in acquisition of wealth or knowledge. Prak tubhya Indra pravruddho 89.11. Indra is more mighty than nights, than days, than the atmosphere, than the supporter of ocean, than the extents of air, and more than the end of the earth. He becomes extremely superior, more than the flowing rivers and more than men. 10.89.12. Pra Shushujatya Ushaso Nakedo. O Indra, your insatiable weapon goes towards and onwards like the banner of the very brightly shining Usha. With your most red hot winning weapon or whining weapon, you split asunder injurers of friends as though struck by thunderbolt let loose from the sky. Comment on this. Indra is said to be destroyer of the wicked or wickedness in this ruk. Anvaha Masa Anvit Vananyan Anvo 10.89.13. The months certainly follow the born Indra. So also the forests, the plants, the mountains, the eager space and earth, and also the water streams. Months stand for time, which is relevant to this changing universe. Since Indra is the manifested self, both space and time appear because of Indra only. Birthless Brahman alone is beyond the space and time. Karhi Switsata Indra. O Indra, when will that punishment of yours come into being, by which you cut asunder a sinner who desires to fight with you, by which men who are cruel to our friends lie on the earth like cows slaughtered in the slaughterhouse? Implied meaning of this is, when will you punish cruel men, O Indra? Effectively, this is what the seer is asking in this book. Shatruyanto Abhiye 89.15. O Indra, may those who desiring enmity move towards us, those unfriendly enemies who are extremely mighty and are assembled to fight us, may all of them be united with blinding darkness. May the shining beings and the nights overcome them. 89.16. Purunihi Savana Jananam. O Indra, Many sacrificial oblations and Vedic mantras delight you indeed. Acclaiming this hymn of the praising sages, may you come towards us with protections by bypassing all other praisers. 89.17 Evate Vayamindra. O Indra, we obtain enjoyments making use of you only. Moreover, O Indra, may we, the friends of all, who are praising you now for our protection, exist or be as objects of your new favors. May the seer and his co-sacrificers be recipients of favors from Indra, as they depend on him only for their happiness. Last book is 89.18 Shunam Huve Mamakavan, which is the same as 30.22. 3.30.22. We go to next suktam, which is perhaps one of the most important suktas in Rig Veda. Suktam 90, Rishi says Narayana, Devata, Purusha, Chandas, Anushtup, Trishtup. This is considered to be one of the most sublime suktas in Rig Veda, though its full significance or importance is not properly appreciated even now. Sage Narayana in this suktam expresses his views about the process of creation of this ever-changing universe made of matter from the matterless, changeless, birthless, permanent state. He is explaining his concept to his pupils or to humanity in general here as follows. Sahasra Shirsha Purusha. Purusha, who is the seed of the universe, has thousands of heads, thousands of eyes, and thousands of legs, enveloping the earth from all sides and moving beyond. He remains 10 fingers in size. From the observation of Rita, one can infer that for any creation there must be a creator. Let him have the attributes mentioned in the rules. What the sage is implying is this: assume that the heads of all living creatures, past, present, and future, come from the head of the seed of the universe, or all those heads put together constitute the head of Purusha. In the same way, his other limbs, such as eyes, hands, etc., are also constituted. It implies that Purusha, the seed of the universe, is beyond space and time. Further, the sage seems to suggest that though the seed of universe envelops all living creatures on the earth, Purusha, who is like the seed of the universe, is a shining sphere or a ball of spiritual light of about 12 inches in diameter. This is based on the observation that the seed of all living creatures are extremely small compared to their full developed bodies. So the sage suggests that let the seed of the universe be as big as a football, which is a reasonable hypothesis if one could visualize such an entity, Purusha. Rest of the rigs in this suktam become easily comprehensible. Purusha evedam sarvam. All these objects that are existing at present, all that have come into being before, all that are yet to be born, likewise, who is the Lord of immortality and who grows higher and with food, all that is Purusha only. Purusha concept introduced in the previous rig is being elaborated in more detail in this rig and subsequent rigs also. Etavanasya Mahima. His greatness is much. But this Purusha is much greater than even this. All these manifested objects put together are but only one foot or one pada of Purusha. His other three quarters are deathless and hence unmanifested in the space. One quarter or pada of Purusha generates basic forms of matter and all objects made up of matter. Tripadodha Uday Purusha 10.90.4. Three-footed or three quarters of Purusha rises upwards. His 1 foot or one pada came into being again here. Thereupon, food eating or living and non-food eating inner forms spread over the four directions and upwards. Purusha is said to possess 4 feet or 4 parts or quarters. Out of the 4 quarters, 1 quarter becomes Jivatma in bodies of living creatures on the earth. The other 3 quarters or 3/4 of Purusha do not go through birth, death, birth cycle like living creatures. Tasmat virala jayata virajo adhipurusha 10.90.5. From Purusha, seed of the universe, Virat came into being. From Virat, Virat Purusha came out. The born Purusha prevailed over the earth from behind and likewise in front. The sage is suggesting that from the football-sized seed of the universe, Hiranyagarbha, universal egg or Virat, was born, and from that the universal man Virat Purusha came out, who is the envelope of all living creatures on the earth. This seed may be the symbol of the unmanifested Atma, referred to as shining space, or spiritual light, or spiritual Jyoti, etc., in many places in Rig Veda. Yat Purushena Havisha Deva Yajnamadanvata 10.90.6. When enlightened sages spread or extended the sacrifice of creation with Purusha as the offering, then the spring became the ghee, summer became the faggot, and autumn the food offering. Implied meaning: wise sages performed a knowledge sacrifice in which they concentrated their minds on this universal man, the sacrificial animal, as mentioned in 10.90.15, that is 15th Rik of this sutta. From him they extracted the seasons, basically time, or they attributed time or appearance of seasons on the earth to this universal man or Purusha. Tam yajnam barhishi praukshan. Enlightened sages sprinkled water on that firstborn, sacrifice-worthy Purusha, in the place of sacrifice. Those who are attainers of truth and wise sages perform sacrifice with him. Those enlightened souls, comment, those enlightened souls refine this concept of the universal man further. Sages and wise men who attained the birthless state of Brahman meditated on Purusha or thought about him further in knowledge sacrifices. But they realized from this sacrifice follows in the next few books. Tasmat Yajnat Sarvahuta 10.90.8. From the sacrifice where all oblations are offered, curds and ghee were obtained. He created animals which are flying, are forest-based, and are inhabitants of homes. From this sacrifice, enlightened souls realized that nourishing food and drink came into being. First, from this universal man, and then only the diverse living creatures who are living on the earth, and then the flying birds. Tasmat yetnyal sarvahuta ritassamani jetnire. 10.90.9. From the sacrifice where oblations were offered, Ruk and Samavedas came into being. From that Chandasas came into being. From that Yajurveda was born. Tasmad Ashwajayanta. 10.90.10. From that horses were born. From that were born those animals having teeth on both jaws, such as cows. From that living creatures like goats were also born. These may not need any further explanation. Yat purusham vyadadhu katidha vyagatpayan. 10.90.11. When enlightened sages upheld Purusha in their minds, in how many ways was he imagined? What was his face? What are said to be his hands, his 2 thighs and 2 feet? Sage Narayana may be asking these questions to himself or to his pupils. Answers to these questions follow in the next 3 books. Brahmanosya mukhama asid bahurajanyakrita. 10.90.12. Brahmana was his face. Kshatriya was his 2 arms. Who is Vaishya? He is his thighs. And from his feet Shudra was born. Logic behind the answers contained in this Rik can be explained as follows. A Brahmana stands for his mental power or brain. Naturally, let Brahmana be the face of Purusha. Kshatriya, representing power of arms, can logically be assumed to come from Purusha's hands, and so on. Chandrama manaso jataschakshro suryo ajayata. 10.90.13. Pleasure-giving moon was born from the mind of Purusha. From his eyes the sun was born. From his face Indra and Agni. And from his pranas Vayu was born. Experience of pleasure, there is comment. Experience of pleasure is the mind, and the moon is supposed to be pleasure-giving. So let moon come from Purusha's mind. The all-perceiving sun logically should come from his eyes. Indra represents Jivatma and Agni is energy in the form of food. Let these 2 together come from his mouth or face. Vayu, air, is being imagined to be exhaled by Purusha appropriately. Nabhya asid antariksham. 10.90.4. Atmosphere came into being from his navel. The space came into being from his head, earth from his feet, and directions from his ears. And in this way, the worlds were imagined to be born from him. Comment. Atmosphere is between the earth and the space, or in the middle. Let that come from the middle part of Purusha. Likewise, let the earth comes the lower part, the feet, and the space from the upper part, his head. Ears are the direction finders, so the directions come from his ears. This is how worlds were imagined to be born from Purusha, as explicitly stated in the next book. 10.90.15. Saptasyasan paridhayastris saptasamidha krita devaya yatnyandanvana avadhan purusham pasho. Boundaries or limitations of that sacrifice were 7. 21 fuel sticks were made. When enlightened souls or sages spread the sacrifice of creation of the universe, they bound Purusha as the sacrificial animal. This requires some explanation. This is one, and the next trick can be considered as a summary of the Sukta. Enlightened sages were conducting a knowledge sacrifice on the creation of this universe from birthless Brahman. They made Purusha as the sacrificial animal. The sacrifice was performed within their minds, limited by the capabilities of 5 sensory organs, the mind itself, and the soul or ego. 21 fire sticks are 5 sensory organs, 5 organs of action, 5 pranas of the perceiver eye are attached to the body of a living creature. And the 6 worlds, which are Bhu, Bhuvasva, Mahajana, Tapa, all of them were offered one by one as oblation to Purusha in this sacrifice. Yajnena yajnamayajanta devastani dharmani prathamanyasan tehanagam mahimanas sachanda yatra purve sadhya santi deva. 10.90.16. This is the last sloka of the sutta. Enlightened sages perform sacrifice to Purusha with fire sticks as sacrificial oblation. Then the primary laws of nature, Vrita, came into being. Becoming great, they were united with that painless state. They indeed are the ancient attainers of truth. From such a knowledge sacrifice, we are now giving a comment on this work. From such a knowledge sacrifice to Purusha, with these fire sticks mentioned in the previous work as oblation, enlightened souls evolved, all arrived at the basic laws of nature and became great. Meditating on Purusha in this way, they attained the painless or the birthless state of Brahman, which was attained by earlier or ancient sages. Creation of universe is unreal and cannot be logically explained. This is the message of Purusha Sutta. Whatever bestows Sat or existence on the gross body and Chit consciousness on the subtle body is Purusha only. I am that Purusha. Purusha Soham Asmi. May the readers of this commentary on the Sutta become convinced that Purusha am I. If the point of reference is this Purusha, then universe is real. Additional notes on the Suktam. Symbolically, the Suktam can be summarized thus. Rishi, Narayana, one whose place of refuge is human beings in their hearts or mind, which may imply a mental creation of leaders of men. Sadhya Narayana could then mean Atma within bodies of human beings who are accomplishers of the creation of the universe, which may mean Kshetrapati, protector of the Lord of the abode, thus Atma, who Purusha, seed of the universe, or unmanifested form, which is being imagined to be a shining ball, shining with spiritual light of about 12-inch diameter, 10.90.1. Paridhis, 7. 5 sense organs of the gross body, the subtle body and causal body, each of them, of an individual sacrificer, which act as his limitations. Samidhas, 21. 5 sense organs of the gross body, 5 organs of action and 5 pranas associated with the body of an individual sacrificer, and the 6 manifested words, Bhu, Bhuva, Swa. These 3 are gross, the subtle words of Maha, Jana and Tapa. Maha stands for universal ignorance, a great illusion personified. Jana for the concept of birth of all born beings, and Tapa for the world of meditation or meditator. One more explanation. giving as oblation the individual gross body and the six manifested worlds. If one meditates on Purusha, the seed of the universe, leaving behind the 21 items mentioned above, he attains, or the sages attains, the birthless state, truth, state of oneness. Thus, the wise sages accomplished the creation of this universe, rather its explanation. On that basis, they arrived at the basic laws of nature as explained in the earlier 14 rigs of the Sutta. With this, we conclude today's session. Viramastavat.